May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Today's Gospel Reflection, August 14th, 2025, Thursday.
He, Lord, said to Joshua, "Today I will begin to exalt you in the sight of all Israel, that they may know I am with you, as I was with Moses. Now command the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to come to a halt in the Jordan, when you reach the edge of the waters." So Joshua said to the children of Israel, "Come here and listen to the words of the Lord, your God. This is how you will know that there is a living God in your midst, who at your approach will dispossess the Canaanites. The Ark of the Covenant of the Lord of the whole earth will precede you into the Jordan. When the soles of the feet of the priests carrying the Ark of the Lord of the whole earth, touch the water of the Jordan, it will cease to flow. For the water flowing down from upstream will halt in a solid bank." The people struck their tents to cross the Jordan, with the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant ahead of them. No sooner had these priestly bearers of the Ark waded into the waters at the edge of the Jordan, which overflows all its banks, during the entire season of the harvest, then the waters flowing from upstream halted, backing up in a solid mass for a very great distance indeed, from Adam, a city in the direction of Zarethan, while those flowing downstream toward the salt sea of the Arabah disappeared entirely. Thus the people crossed over opposite Jericho, while all Israel crossed over on dry ground. The priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord remained motionless on dry ground in the bed of the Jordan, until the whole nation had completed the passage. Responsorial Psalm. When Israel came forth from Egypt, the house of Jacob from a people of alien tongue, Judah became his sanctuary, Israel his domain. Alleluia! The sea beheld and fled. Jordan turned back. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like the lambs of the flock. Alleluia! Why is it, O sea, that you flee? O Jordan, that you turn back? You mountains, that you skip like rams? You hills, like the lambs of the flock?
The Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Peter approached Jesus and asked him, "Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive him? As many as 7 times?" Jesus answered, "I say to you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That is why the kingdom of heaven may be likened to a king who decided to settle accounts with his servants. When he began the accounting, a debtor was brought before him who owed him a huge amount. Since he had no way of paying it back, his master ordered him to be sold, along with his wife, his children, and all his property, in payment of the debt. At that, the servant fell down, did him homage, and said, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay you back in full.' Moved with compassion, the master of that servant let him go and forgave him the loan. When that servant had left, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him a much smaller amount. He seized him and started to choke him, demanding, 'Pay back what you owe.' Falling to his knees, his fellow servant begged him, 'Be patient with me, and I will pay you back.' But he refused. Instead, he had the fellow servant put in prison until he paid back the debt. Now when his fellow servants saw what had happened, they were deeply disturbed, and went to their master and reported the whole affair. His master summoned him and said to him, 'You wicked servant, I forgave you your entire debt because you begged me to. Should you not have had pity on your fellow servant, as I had pity on you?' Then in anger his master handed him over to the torturers, until he should pay back the whole debt. So will my heavenly Father do to you, unless each of you forgives his brother from his heart." When Jesus finished these words, he left Galilee and went to the district of Judea across the Jordan. The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflection. In the Gospel passage above, Jesus tells a story that turns our human understanding of forgiveness upside down. A man owes his king an enormous debt, so massive, he could never pay it back in his lifetime. Yet the king, moved with compassion, forgives him completely. The slate is wiped clean. You would think that someone who receives such mercy would be eager to show it to others. But instead, this man turns around and demands repayment from someone who owes him just a tiny fraction of what he owed the king. And when that small debt isn't paid immediately, he throws the man into prison. The contrast is striking and disturbing. How could someone who has been forgiven so much be so unforgiving? But if we're honest, this story is not just about someone else. It holds up a mirror to our own hearts. We, too, have received grace we did not earn. We've been shown love, mercy, and second chances time and time again. And yet, when someone wrongs us, we sometimes hold on tightly to anger, resentment, and the desire for payback. Forgiveness is not about forgetting or pretending the hurt didn't happen. It's not about excusing the wrong or denying justice. Rather, forgiveness is a decision to release ourselves from the prison of bitterness. When we choose not to forgive, we chain ourselves to the very pain we want to escape. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. It festers, grows, and robs us of peace. On the other hand, forgiveness is freedom. It's not a sign of weakness but of strength. It takes courage to forgive, especially when the wound is still fresh or the offense repeated. But forgiveness has the power to heal not just relationships, but also our own hearts. It liberates us from the burden of revenge and opens the door to new beginnings. The message here is clear: we are called to extend the same mercy we've received. Not because people always deserve it, but because we didn't deserve it either. The grace that flowed into our lives was never meant to stop with us. It's meant to overflow into the lives of others. This doesn't mean that boundaries aren't necessary or that trust must be restored immediately. Forgiveness and reconciliation are two different things. Forgiveness is something we can give unconditionally, but reconciliation may take time, effort, and mutual growth. Still, the first step, the opening of the heart, is always ours to take. If you are holding on to anger today, if someone has wounded you and you're struggling to let go, remember this: you are not alone. God knows your pain. He's not asking you to pretend it didn't hurt. He's inviting you to experience the healing that comes from letting go. Think of the freedom that could be yours if you no longer carried the weight of resentment. Think of the peace that could enter your life if you chose to release that debt. You were never meant to carry that burden forever. Let today be the day you loosen your grip, not for them but for you. Forgiveness is not a favor to your offender. It's a gift give to yourself. And as you offer it, you reflect the very heart of God, one who forgives, restores, and never keeps a record of wrongs. Let your story be one of grace and not grudges, of mercy and not revenge, of healing and not hurt. When we choose forgiveness, we choose freedom.